Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to take a minute and talk about the 2017 Crusher in the Tushar bike. So I've made some changes since the last time I did one of these, which was 2 years ago, because I didn't actually do the Crusher last year. I was out of town, so I missed last year's edition. But since then, I've changed my bike, changed my setup, and kind of changed my approach, and we'll talk about that. So the bike is a Santa Cruz Stigmata, the CC, so it's the little bit nicer carbon. Really like this bike overall. This isn't really a bike review. I just want to talk about the setup that I'm using for the Crusher. So let's zoom in and we'll talk about some of the details. So starting at the top here, I am using the Sram Red Shifter hydraulic brake shifter combo. Really like the way the hoods feel on these. This extra tall section here allows you to ride on the top of the hoods and don't feel like you're going to slide off the top of them like you did on the old Reds. So I do like that a lot. That said, on the descent for the Crusher, I'll be riding primarily in the drops. I feel I have better control, better braking there. For my bar setup, I have an Easton SLX EC90 carbon bar, and I've double wrapped the tape. I'm using the lizard skin tape on here, which I really like this stuff for riding with no gloves, which I don't use gloves in the Crusher because the climb is so long and it's so hot that gloves just kind of get soaked and my hands get super hot. My hands sweat a lot anyway, so I find the gloves to be a distraction. So I've double wrapped the top here, so just on the tops I have a Quark tape underneath this, and I've wrapped the lizard skin over that. Gives me a little more plush ride, but it also increases the diameter of the handlebar. I have pretty big hands, so I like a bigger grip on my mountain bike. I run really fat grips, so I find that anything I can do to make the grip size a little bigger kind of makes my overall comfort improve in my handling. And just, you know, this is a 5-hour race, so anything I can do to make myself more comfortable is going to pay off in the long run. Barfly, Garmin Mounts, so I definitely will be running my Garmin during the race. Easton carbon stem, that's the EC90 SL, and it's a 120 length. Moving on to my wheels. So this is my first cross bike with disc brakes, and I was really hesitant to get a disc brake bike. But now that I've got one, I really like it. I still think disc is kind of overkill for actual cyclocross, but for gravel grinders and a race like the Crusher, the disc is really good because you're going super fast on the descent. I think I hit close to 50 miles an hour last time I did the Crusher, and I felt like I was riding my brakes because I was using a rim brake, and they were not very powerful, to be honest. Wheels, I'm using the Belgian Plus. The Hed Belgium Plus. It's a 25 millimeter internal, so it is a wider rim. It gives me a better tire profile for the fatter tires that I'm running. And I don't know if you can see this here, but I'm running the WTB Nano 40C tires. It's a bit of a departure for me. I've always run a 35C. Last year, or the last time I raced this, I did the Clement Explorer in a 35 or 36C with tubes. It was a great tire. It worked really well for me, but I was definitely holding back on the descents. Didn't feel like I could really let it run because I didn't want to pinch flat. So this is a tubeless setup. The 40C does hold a tremendous amount of air volume, and then with the Plus rim, I feel like it has a great profile, and I can run these pretty low. I'm going to run probably about a 27 or 28 in the rear and probably a 24 in the front. So this is, I'm hoping, going to allow me to really rip the descents much more than I have in the past. With these tires on, I feel like I'm almost going mountain bike speeds in most situations. So really looking forward to see how they feel on the descent. You do pay a bit of a weight penalty. They're not the lightest tires in the world, but at the end of the day, I'm a 200-pound guy, so trying to shave a few grams here and there on doesn't have as much of an impact for me as it might for somebody that's super lightweight climber. Yeah, it is rotational weight, but I feel like just the added confidence that these give me and the speed that I'll be able to hit the downhills with that it's worth it. I'm not the greatest climber in the world anyway, so it's kind of like a case of I need to make the hay where I can, which is on the descent. Drivetrain. I'm using an 1136 Sram cassette on the rear with a Sram medium cage derailleur. It's the Sram Force that I'm using with this. For cyclocross, I use the CX1 stuff, but it doesn't work with 2 chainring setup. So speaking of chainrings, big change here for me. I'm using the Absolute Black chainring. So these are a non-round chainring. They're ovalized. I don't know if you can really see that, but I'm using a 50-34. So my low gear for the Col de Crush is going to be a 34-36. I've run that combination before as a single. With the single setup, I was definitely spun out on the downhills and a little under geared on the flats going through Circleville, but I really loved it going up the Col de Crush. Last time I did it, I had my best time up Col de Crush by several minutes because I was able to spin and stay on top of a much more manageable gear the whole way. I am using a Quark power meter. I do like to have the power data. I don't really necessarily look at it so much during the race. I kind of go off of perceived exertion, RPE, during the race to monitor my effort. But I do like to look at the files after. I'm kind of a data geek. Shimano XTR pedals. Got a couple of seasons on these. They're holding up extremely well. Super easy to get in and out of. That's what I race cross with as well. Got these Reynolds carbon water bottle cages. They're super lightweight, and they seemed like when I put them on, they'd be a little flimsy. But I gotta say, I've taken these on some really rough rides, and I usually carry the big insulated Giro bottles, so they're pretty heavy, and I have yet to lose one on some pretty high speed and fast descents. What else we got? On the seat, cockpit, pretty basic, Thompson Elite post, pretty hard to beat that. As a bigger guy, I don't like carbon seat posts on a cross bike because I have broken quite a few, to be honest with you, jumping on and off with my big carcass. So I like the confidence that I get with an aluminum seat post, and the Thompson is definitely the best one I've found. Great adjustability, and the seat never moves once you get it adjusted. The Physique Aliante VS saddle. I have this on all my bikes, my mountain bike, my road bike, my cross bike. It fits my butt really well, and that's, saddle's a really individual thing. I do like the cutaway. Gives me a little bit of relief for those long days in the saddle. But this saddle just really fits my ass. So I like it, and if you're looking for a nice saddle with a cutaway, and you have kind of a bigger butt like me, this might be a good saddle for you. But that's kind of the setup for this year. It's a reliable combo. I've been riding this bike since last fall. I really like the way it handles. I've put a lot of miles on it. I'm really confident with my setup. This tire rim combination is really nice for me. I didn't mention the rims. I'm using a White Industries rim, or excuse me, a White Industries hub. The rims are the Hed Belgians, of course, and I'm using the White Industries, as you can see there, maybe. But really like these. I've got another set of these with a tubular that I use during cross season, and they've been just bomber, super reliable wheels. They were built up for me by Eric Flynn over at Flynn Cyclery in Holiday, Utah, and he is a super experienced, super knowledgeable wheel builder, so I have 100% confidence in the wheel build. So that's it. Any other questions, hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you guys at the Crusher.